Yeah, man, I'm back. And what you probably hear in the background is the fantastic and obscure krautrock band called Necronomicon, and their only album from the time called Tips zum Selbstmord, which in English translate something like tips for committing suicide. Perhaps no wonder this record sold poorly back in its day, because of its mildly negative title, but wow, this just recently arrived in the mail, and it's of course not the original. It's an Amber Soundroom reissue from about 10 or 12 years ago. Even these are getting rare these days, but they cost a fraction of the price of an original, which was released on a tiny record label, and of course dived into obscurity. This Amber Soundroom sorry, I'll try that again. These Amber Soundroom reissues are extremely well made, and they have made an effort to recreate the cover, which is a panel cover, and if you fold it out, it forms a cross. I'll try to show it to you, but it's big, so I'm not sure if my camera will pick up all the cover. I will try to show it to you. I should have taken a picture of it, but just wonderful, wonderful reissue from Amber Soundroom here. And what can I say about the music? It's crudely recorded, harsh sounding production. It's kind of garagey, psychedelic in some places, prog elements, just everything you love about the music from that time. And it sounds as if they were average musicians trying to emulate a lot of things, and they can't quite make it sound like anything else but themselves, which made them sound unique. So I urge you to check out Necronomicon and their album Tips zum Selbstmord. And of course, the lyrics are in German, which just adds to the sound, I think. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, this video is... Where's my head? There. This video is supposed to be an update from my Gothenburg trip, which was last week. I had a quite nice trip, but I have purchased some records since then as well, so I might as well show them first. Very, very nicely done reissue of Eloy's first album on Music on Vinyl. Here you can see the labels, and they have made an almost exact reproduction of the original cover with the garbage can lid, which you can open and watch inside. And my god, this pressing sounds extremely good. So the Music on Vinyl edition from 2013, I believe, of Eloy's first album from 1971. You better get it, because the originals are silly expensive. Bought Eloy's third album as well from 1974, Floating, an original German Harvest pressing. I don't know if the camera picks it up. Original Harvest pressing, and man, as I said before earlier in videos before, Eloy from 1971 till about 1980, you can't go wrong. Exceptional songwriting, hard-hitting, progressive hard rock, and the sound production is always magnificent. That kind of vintage, punchy sounding, full sounding. I just love Eloy. So go get yourself some Eloy if you don't have any of their albums. I also bought a fairly recent reissue of Josephus' second album, I believe, or if it's the first, simply called Josephus, and it's a good heavy blues oriented rocker. Nothing quite like the other album called what's it called? Oh, my brain is shot this night. Yes, you know what I mean. The other one, which everyone shows and talks about. This is good, but not as good. Well, it seems I'm fumbling with my words, but bear with me. This will be a long video because I went to Gothenburg, as I mentioned, just the other week, and I went to a number of record shops, and Jesus Christ, I bought a big pile of records, so hang in there. And if you need to take a piss or a drink or anything, just pause and do whatever you need. Or come back and watch the rest if you care to. But I found a lot of interesting records. First, I want to show Peter Green's first solo album after he split from his Mind and Fleetwood Mac. And this is The End of the Game from 1970. This is a reissue from the mid-70s on the original Rock Classic series, a cheapo reissue, but it's on the Reprise label, the Steamboat label. There, and it sounds good. And Peter Green in the late 60s, early 70s, way interesting music, and this is all instrumental, jam-based tracks. I think it's sort of droney, space rocky, free jazz oriented. It's just wonderful. So I urge you to check out Peter Green's End of the Game. And it certainly was for quite a number of years for him, sadly. Next up, I found a bit of American psychedelia, a classic. the Blues Magoo's first album, Psychedelic Lollipop, and this is an original Mercury, US Mercury release. It's actually, the cover states mono, or according to the catalog number it's a mono edition, and the labels also state mono, but the record is actually in stereo. And this is the first of this kind of Mercury label I have. That old 60s style Mercury label. I quite enjoyed this album. I won't say it's a masterpiece, but it's a good early psychedelic pop rock blues oriented album. Quite good. So I think I'll check out the other albums as well. And this was quite cheap, actually. Never mind. Next up, I found an English psychedelic forgotten great record by the band Love Sculpture. And this album is their only one from, their second one I think, from 1969-70, called Forms and Feelings. And this is a mid-70s reissue, but never mind. It was very cheap, and it's an old reissue. But this is a hard rock psychedelic pop piece. Wonderful blend. Extraordinary guitar work from Dave Edmunds, and excellent band. Good musicians and good music. I urge you to check out Forms and Feelings by Love Sculpture. And it can be found, I think, quite easily for cheap. I vaguely knew this from before. I had heard a couple of tracks, so I was very pleased to find that for a nice price, so I could check it out. All these three records, the Peter Green, Blues Magoo's and Love Sculpture, I bought from a shop called Music Lovers, I think it was. Anyway, I leave names of the shops in the description or in the end of the video. Next up, I bought a 90s lo-fi classic on a tip from Lord Doom Paul, Neutral Milk Hotel, and their second record called In the Aeroplane Over the Sea. And mind you, this record didn't disappoint. When I saw Lord Doom Paul talking about this record and saying that there was no clunkers on this album, I went and checked it out, and he was right. It's an adorable album actually, and this is a new reissue. So if you are into that late 90s lo-fi indie rock scene, Neutral Milk Hotel, In the Aeroplane Above the Sea, wonderful. If you like a singing saw, bagpipes, accordions, acoustic electric instruments, lo-fi production, and exceptionally songwriting, this one is for you. Fantastic album. Fantastic. I also bought the latest release from the band ISIS, a post-metal, doom metal band from the USA. They folded in about 2010 or 11, I think, and this is a double live recording from the Australian farewell tour, I think. ISIS, everything by ISIS is excellent. ISIS the band. I also found Culpeper Orchard's second LP from 1972, I believe, called Second Sight, and this is a record store they release here in Scandinavia, I guess, from this year actually. It's a nice quality 180 gram Polydor pressing, Polydor Universal, and this is almost as good as Culpepper's Orchard's self-titled debut from 1971. But if you want to check out Culpepper's Orchard, start with their first. Excellent album. Wow! A grail, believe it or not. I tell you, Gothenburg is excellent for record shopping, especially for nerds like me. This one. I've been wanting this for ages. It's a Swedish trio called Kvartetten som sprängdes, the quartet that blew up in English. And this is their only album called Catwalls. And what's funny about the name, the quartet that blew up, is that the band was actually a trio. And this drummer, Rune Karlsson, he was a prominent jazz drummer, and he performed with many international jazz artists. On the top of my head, I only remember no one actually. Stan Getz, among many others, and the two other musicians I don't know much about. But this is another release on that short-lived label, sub-label to Metronome, called Gump, and I think they only released about 8 or 9 albums before closing shop. So this is a grail. The music is sort of rock jazz, jazz rock, that early type of jazz rock with heavy rock leanings, and just marvelous. And it's all instrumental, and it's wonderfully executed, and great melodies. So, Kvartetten som sprängdes, the quartet that blew up, Catwalls. Wonderful stuff. Perhaps I should show you that Gump label, because that's fairly unknown to most people, but it's a very collectible label, and I think you safely can buy all the albums on the Gump label if you are into experimental and obscure music, whatever that is. I forget mentioning the shops I bought individual records, but never mind. Next up, a reissue of a Kraut classic from the band called Dis Irae or Dis Ira. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it, but perhaps Stefan from the VC community could help me with pronouncing the band name right, but never mind, Dis Irae. And this is their first album, simply called First, and it's an Urvarsel reissue. Nice gatefold there. And for those who are interested in colored vinyl, this comes with custom labels and a nice opaque green plastic. Fantastic. And Dis Irae, I say Dis Irae, they were a hard rock band with blues orientation and some prog rock leanings, and it's an excellent album. And I say so, just pounce on it if you find the reissue or if you find the original, which of course is super expensive. Another reissue, I believe Derek Fisher from Cosmic Mind, I think that's his channel, showed this one, Parish Hall, This is a Karma reissue, unfortunately, but he showed the original. This was a heavy rock trio from, I think they were from California, and the original was released on Liberty Records. This is a magnificent, typical for its era actually, heavy hard rock with blues orientation. Lots of riffing and guitar work going on, but excellent songs, excellent sound production. Cheesy cover, that's the guitar player. I think it was called Gary Wagner, but seems like an Engelbert Humperdinck with long hair. But don't let the cover fool you. Parish Hall and their self-titled only album. If you find it, go get it. And an interesting EP from a Gothenburg band called Son, or Grandson in English. And this is their debut EP on clear plastic. And it's one-sided, 4 tracks only, and it's a numbered limited edition. If you can see there, they have just used a marker to mark which number this is. Excellent, excellent post-rock, instrumental post-rock, heavy sounding, excellent, fantastic. Go and check them out on Bandcamp. They have a full-length album as well from 2014. This is from 2013, I believe. So, Son, Grandson in English, Swedish post-rock band. Ah, another grail! Can you believe it? I showed this album in an earlier video. I have a record store they released from 2013, a reissue of this album, but I found the original in Gothenburg, and it's Saga, not to be confused with the Canadian, I don't know where they're from, heavy rock band, but this is the Swedish prog rock band Saga, and the bass player from the band November started this band in 1974, and they released only this album. Also a hard-hitting, wonderful Swedish prog rock LP. So if you haven't heard it, go and check it out online. And this is with the original Sonett labels, introduced in late 72, and also with the original Sonett inner sleeve. So a complete grail in near mint condition. It cost a lot of money, but I'm a sucker for originals, so I couldn't pass it up. Well, another grail to cross off my wish list. Ha! And this is a record I first heard about when I discovered Ron at the Hog's Ear Report and his videos. He showed a band called The Freak Scene, and this is their only album called Psychedelic Soul. And this is actually the second LP by the band called The Deep, I believe Ron said. And the mastermind behind both this album and The Deep, which I also believe was the first LP to coin the expression psychedelic. But the mastermind behind this and The Deep album was Rusty Evans. And this is a great album. I just heard bits and pieces of it online, and but overall the album is very interesting, I think, and a typical timepiece. It's a mono edition on the Two-Eyed 360 Columbia label, so I believe it's an original. And to find this in Gothenburg took me by surprise actually, because I haven't seen any of these in the wild here in Scandinavia. But that's the freak scene, psychedelic soul. Excellent. I have to flip the record. I'm talking too much and the record has to be turned. Bloody felt mat. I don't know if you can hear the music in the background, but it's just a wonderful album, that Necronomicon, Tips zum Selbstmord. Next up is another Danish progressive hard rock album, the only one from this band, called Blast Furnace. And this album is from 1971, sorry, but this is a Record Store Day reissue from this year. Also on that Polydor label, same as Culpepper's Orchard, so I believe Polydor Scandinavia or Universal Scandinavia has launched a couple of Danish classics. And this is on dark green vinyl. It looks black in the camera, but never mind. So do check out Blast Furnace if you like that typical hard progressive rock. It's also got its mellow moments, and the originals are very expensive, so this is a nice alternative to a wonderful but rare record. I bought another Danish band called Palm, and this is from 1970 or 71, and this gentleman is called Arne Virkler, and he's the bass player both in Palm and the year after in Blast Furnace, so there's a link between Palm and Blast Furnace, so quite similar sounding bands actually, and the same producer. So wonderful Danish prog rock. I really recommend both Palm and Blast Furnace. Another reissue from the band Janus, and I believe their only album called Gravedigger. And I'm almost certain that this is an unofficial re-release, but you can't be sure. It's listed on Discogs as an official release, but it just smells bootleg, doesn't it? With a nice insert, with a nice band, and not too much information. But Janus was a German band, and this was recorded in 1972. And it comes on the Harvest label. And a marble grey blue vinyl. What can I say about Janus? It's typical for what I listen to. It's hard progressive blues oriented rock. And when it originates from Germany, it's called krautrock. Simple as that. But it's a nice sounding reissue, so if you don't want to spend a lot of money on an original, go for the cheap reissue. I also found an original of the Dutch band Trace with the original die cut cover. Sorry. The insert. Double-sided insert with a cartoon And this is their second album from 1975 called Birds. And if you're not familiar with Trace, Trace was the band started by Rick van der Linden, a prominent organ pianist, organ player, pianist, who was a founding member of another progressive group from Netherlands called Exception. And Exception specialized in and became famous for making progressive arrangements around classical themes. And their first hit record was Beethoven's Fifth in 1969. And they released a number of albums and just continued in that vein, jazzing and progging up classical music. Plus they made their own melodies as well. So when Rick van der Linden left Exception in 1974 or 75, he started Trace and they released 3 albums. It's sort of your typical circusy prog rock. I mean, he was very influenced by Keith Emerson, so there you go. Then you know what direction this is. A fairly recent band called Lightning Dust. I found their second album for cheap, and this is simply called, no, this is called Infinite Light, and it's from 2009. And if you don't know this band, the 2 members of this band, the 2 profile members, are the drummer and the vocalist from the band Black Mountain. And as with Black Mountain's records, this is released on Jaguar Records. Just a wonderful melodic lo-fi indie pop rock band. I just dig her voice. What's her name again? I can't read without my glasses, but lyrics by never mind. Lightning Dust. Go check him out for yourself. Very melodic, very, very great. And actually they do a budgie cover here. Budgie cover. Wondering what everyone knows. Fantastic cover of an excellent classic, hard rock classic. Another heavy progressive British blues-oriented act, Tear Gas, and I believe their only album from 1971. Excellent. This is a exceptional album, except for a few clunkers, a rock and roll medley, Jailhouse Rock and All Shook Up. Except for those 2 tracks, the rest is just great. Well, my camera turned off because the memory card was full, so I had to redo the rest of the records and the rest of the video. But what can you do? So if you're still there, let's continue. Another reissue, another krautrock band, and it's Kin Ping Me, and the second album I believe called Number 2. And this is a reissue on the Sound Vision label, and they are making decent reissues. The original on Zebra is a highly collectible item, and this is a safe bet. Well, Kin Ping Me was another German hard-rocking krautrock band with jazz rock, hard rock, and some psychedelic and progressive leanings. So I urge you to check out Kin Ping Me. Now, for something American. I found Bloodrock's third album, 3. Many of these bands were quite inventive naming their albums. Solid hard rocking album from a solid hard rocking band. I have the second album called Bloodrock 2, but I miss their first album, simply called Bloodrock, which I find their best album. But this is a good album. It's nothing mind-blowing, but solid, heavy riffing, good songs. And it's an original on the Green Capital Target label, which is always a nice find. But yeah, these are getting pricey, by the way, at least here in the northern hemisphere. I don't know how that is in the United States, but I guess there's a bit more Bloodrock floating around there. But they are scarce and getting pricey here in Norway, Sweden and Denmark, at least. So, now I have to find the first album. Another original, Rory Gallagher's first solo album, self-titled, from 1971, and I had this a number of years ago, but sold it off in a purge. And I don't know why, because this is my favorite Rory Gallagher album. Well, raw sounding, primitive production actually, sounding much like Taste's first album from 1969. Getting near the end. Cheers. I'm drinking a Norwegian beer called Borg, homegrown Citra Blonde. Nice light summer beer. A little advertisement from the local brewery. Last year I went to Stockholm and I found an original of the next album I'm about to show for 750 euros. And I thought to myself, I don't like this album that much. So I left it behind, and this year I found a nice reissue of Pantarei's only album, and it's worth it alone for the cover. A nice close-up there, a nice bloke with 2 cats and a giant Marlboro packet. And Pantarei means something like everything's floating. It's Latin, I believe. And this was a progressive, a Swedish progressive hard rock act. And it's a quite good album, considered by many as a very good album. I think it's just good. And it's on nice red wax. This is what is the label? Nevermind. Yes, Golden Pavilion Records. I don't know if it's an official or unofficial release, but it sounds good, and it will do for me. I have no need for the original. Another nice close-up of that dude and his 2 cats. The last 2 records are grayish. The first record I found after 5 minutes in the first record shop was Frigid Pink's first album, and I've been searching for the record for years and never finding it in the wild here in Norway, so there it was. 5 minutes in my crate digging, and it's an original UK Durham issue with the original stereo or mono indicator hole, and if it's a blue inner sleeve it's a stereo edition, and if it's a red inner sleeve it's a mono edition. a nice, very British way of marking if it's a stereo or mono issue. Oh, thank God, it's getting near the end. Last record, my brain is fried, and I think I need to finish up and let you go. Second album by the German hard rock band Lucifer's Friend, where the groupies kill the blues. I would have rather found a first album simply called Lucifer's Friend, which is more in the hard rock vein. This is more progressive rock with some jazz rock elements, but still a very enjoyable album and solid throughout. And it's a nice original on the Vertigo Swirl, German edition mind you. It wasn't released on Vertigo Swirl in the UK, I believe. I love that proto-metal screaming on the Necronomicon record. By the way, this is the band where John Lawton, the British vocalist who later joined Uriah Heep, started his career, I believe, his recording career. The band was first called Asterix, and they released one album before morphing into Lucifer's Friend. And the guitar player from Lucifer's Friend, his day job was playing in the James Last Orchestra, that hit parade making conductor, James Last. So I guess he needed a more heavy outlet than James Last recordings, and went along and started Asterix and later on Lucifer's Friend. Well, I got through. I hope you got through as well. And certainly Necronomicon got through with all of their tips zum Selbstmord. So if you're still here, thanks for watching. If you liked it, please click the thumbs up, or if you didn't, click the thumbs down, and if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe. So, or comment. I always love comments. I do try to answer all of them. But thanks for watching, and bye for now.